Title: The Old You Is Ni. They watched you fall, and they smiled. They whispered to each other in quiet satisfaction, convinced the weight on your shoulders would crush you. They believed the silence around you meant surrender. They mistook your stillness for weakness. They thought the darkness would swallow you whole. But what they never understood is that darkness is where transformation begins. They expected to see you break. They expected to see your spirit collapse under pressure. They expected your voice to tremble, your confidence to fade, your fire to die. They expected the story of your life to end right there, in the middle of the storm, abandoned by hope and defeated by doubt. But something unexpected happened. You survived, not loudly, not dramatically, but deeply, quietly, powerfully, you endured in ways they could not see. While they were busy predicting your downfall, you were learning how to breathe in chaos, how to stand in uncertainty, how to find meaning in pain. They expected tears, but you gave them silence. They expected defeat, but you gave them patience. They expected weakness, but inside you, something ancient began to awaken. Because sometimes life does not destroy you. Sometimes it introduces you to your real self. The nights became long, heavier than anything you had ever carried before. Questions echoed in your mind like distant thunder. Why did this happen? Why did they betray you? Why did everything collapse at once? It felt like the ground disappeared beneath your feet, like the sky forgot your name. But in that emptiness, you discovered something terrifying and beautiful. You discovered that you could survive alone, and that realization changed everything, because once you understand that you can walk through fire by yourself, fear loses its control over you. Pain becomes a teacher. Silence becomes a weapon. Loneliness becomes a mirror reflecting your hidden strength. You began to see clearly, not with your eyes, but with your scars. Every betrayal carved wisdom into your spirit. Every disappointment sharpened your instincts. Every sleepless night forged resilience into your bones. They thought pressure would destroy you, but pressure creates diamonds. They thought isolation would weaken you, but isolation reveals truth. They thought struggle would end your story, but struggle became the beginning of your legend. You started rebuilding, not the life they knew, but the life you deserved. Brick by brick, thought by thought, decision by decision, you stopped chasing approval, You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped shrinking to make others comfortable. And suddenly, something inside you became unshakable, because when you rebuild yourself in silence, nobody knows how powerful you've become. They noticed the change, but they didn't understand it. Your energy felt different. Your presence felt calm, yet dangerous. Your words became fewer, but heavier. They wondered why you no longer reacted the same way, why you no longer argued, why you no longer tried to prove anything, because the truth is, you no longer needed permission to exist. You no longer needed validation to believe in yourself. You no longer needed applause to know your worth. You stepped into a quiet confidence that made noise unnecessary, and that terrified them, because they could not control the version of you that no longer feared losing them. They expected revenge, but you chose evolution. They expected anger, but you chose clarity. They expected drama, but you chose discipline. And discipline is more powerful than emotion. While they were distracted by temporary victories, you were focused on permanent growth. While they were repeating old patterns, you were creating a new identity. While they were watching your past, you were building your future. Every morning became a battlefield where excuses were defeated. Every evening became a reflection where lessons were collected. You started asking yourself different questions. Not, why is this happening to me? But what is this teaching me? Not, why did they hurt me? But why did I allow it? Not, will I ever heal? But who will I become because of this? And with every answer, the old version of you slowly disappeared. The insecure voice faded. The fearful mindset weakened. The desperate need for acceptance dissolved like mist in sunlight. You realized something powerful. You were never meant to stay the same. Growth requires death, not physical death, but the death of limitations, the death of illusions, the death of the person who believed they were not enough. Because every transformation demands sacrifice. Comfort must die. Fear must die. Doubt must die. And sometimes, the old version of you must disappear completely, so the real you can finally breathe. Did they really think pain would make you smaller? Pain expanded you. Did they really think rejection would stop you? Rejection redirected you. Did they really think betrayal would weaken you? Betrayal revealed the truth. You stopped seeing obstacles as enemies. You started seeing them as tests preparing you for a greater destiny. Because ordinary people break under pressure, but extraordinary people are built by it. You became more selective, more focused. More aware. You stopped giving your energy to chaos. You stopped entertaining negativity. You stopped responding to everything that once demanded your attention, because peace became more valuable than proving a point, and silence became louder than arguments. They began to feel something shift, a distance they could not cross, a confidence they could not shake. An independence they could not influence. You became unpredictable, because you were no longer reacting from wounds. You are acting from wisdom. And wisdom moves differently. Wisdom does not rush. Wisdom does not panic. Wisdom does not beg. Wisdom observes, adapts, conquers. The storms that once frightened you now strengthened you. The loneliness that once hurt you now empowered you. The confusion that once overwhelmed you now guided you, because clarity is born in chaos. Strength is born in struggle. Greatness is born in discomfort. You stopped asking life to be easier. You started asking yourself to be stronger. And strength changed your posture, changed your voice, changed your mindset, changed your destiny. They noticed you no longer explained yourself, no longer chased approval. No longer tolerated disrespect. No longer allowed temporary people to create permanent damage, because you understood something they didn't. Not everyone deserves access to your energy. Not everyone deserves access to your mind. Not everyone deserves access to your future. You became protective of your peace, protective of your time, protective of your vision, because distractions destroy potential, and you are no longer willing to betray your future for temporary comfort. The old you wanted acceptance. The new you demands alignment. The old you feared rejection. The new you welcomes clarity. The old you chased connection. The new you attracts respect. You stopped shrinking to fit into spaces that could never appreciate your growth. You stopped apologizing for evolving. You stopped explaining why you needed solitude, because solitude is where power multiplies. Silence is where strategy forms. Distance is where healing completes. They watched as you became more focused. More disciplined, more intentional, more unstoppable. They tried to understand what changed, but transformation is invisible to those who refuse to grow, because growth requires honesty. And honesty requires courage. You faced the parts of yourself you once avoided, the fears you once ignored, the doubts you once believed, and one by one, you conquered them, not perfectly, not instantly, but consistently. And consistency creates miracles. You didn't wake up powerful. You became powerful through repetition, through persistence, through refusing to quit on the days when everything felt impossible. You kept moving, even when nobody noticed, even when nobody supported you, even when nobody believed in you, because belief is most powerful when it comes from within. You became your own motivation, your own inspiration, your own validation. And that is when everything changed. Because external approval becomes irrelevant. When internal confidence becomes unbreakable. They expected your story to end in defeat. But your story evolved into dominance. Not dominance over others, but dominance over yourself. Your habits improved. Your mindset sharpened. Your focus intensified. Your standards elevated. Because the new version of you understands something powerful. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you become. So you became stronger. Wiser. Calmer. Smarter. Focused. Disciplined. Unshakable. They kept waiting for you to return to your old self. But the old you is gone. Gone is the person who tolerated disrespect. Gone is the person who doubted their worth. Gone is the person who feared being alone. Gone is the person who begged to be understood. Because the new you understands yourself deeply. And self-understanding creates self-mastery. You became comfortable walking alone because you realized lions do not move in crowds. Eagles do not ask permission to fly. Storms do not apologize for their power. And you were never meant to live a small life. You were never meant to stay silent forever. You were never meant to remain broken. Every scar became evidence of survival. Every lesson became a weapon of wisdom. Every challenge became proof of resilience. You stopped seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances and started seeing yourself as the author of destiny. Because power begins when excuses end. Responsibility became your greatest strength. Accountability became your greatest weapon. Discipline became your greatest advantage. While others searched for shortcuts, you built endurance. While others chased comfort, you built character. While others feared failure, you embraced growth. And growth transformed you into someone unstoppable. Not because life became easier, but because you became stronger. They can see it now. In the way you walk. In the way you speak.